What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, before we start getting into the commentary, I'd like to give a shout out and thanks to all of my subscribers. Just recently, I have reached the 1,000 subscriber mark. Right, and I'm very happy about that. This is the only game that I've streamed, and I've been doing it for, I don't know, probably about 4 months. And after all this time, and after the, I don't know, small changes that I've made when compared to the beginning of the channel, I've been able to achieve, well actually I can't say achieve, it's not an achievement, but I've been able to gain 1,000 supporters, right? So I like to send my shout out and thanks to all of you guys. Right, you guys are the best. Alright, now, time to get into the commentary. I know you guys, as the video came on, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, okay, dude, now what is this guy all about? Right, because if you guys can see, I have donned the Black Knight armor, and I am using the Black Knight Greataxe. Now, I've been accused of only using rapiers and great swords, right? Despite the fact that within my last couple of videos I've been using the Balder side sword, right? So, with this celebration of my 1,000 subscribers, I like to do something a little different, change the pace up a little bit. So I'm going to be using a Black Knight Greataxe, right? To some, it is a very hated weapon. But it is also one that I see underrepresented in my personal opinion. Now, with regard to gankers, I see a lot of Black Knight Greataxes, right? But in a lot of 1v1 matches, and actually let me take that back. Not only a lot of gankers, but a lot of guys who like to backstab fish, especially those who use a hornet ring. They may have the Black Knight Greataxe, and all they do is run up to you and fish for backstabs. But in a brigade, we've evolved from backstab fishing. Right now, this is not to say that we will not backstab, of course, but there's a big difference between backstab fishing and simply hitting a backstab when one is available. And we don't like to do that. Right, so this is going to be a 2-part series, and I think it will total somewhere around 50 minutes of Black Knight Greataxe PvP. So if you guys are relatively new to the game, and maybe some of you guys may have used this in 1v1 situations, and you may say to yourself, like, the weapon sucks because all I do is get parried all the time. Well, what I'm going to do is kind of demonstrate some strategies and some of the tactics that I use whenever I use the Black Knight Greataxe. Now, one thing that you should not do with this weapon is spam the R1 button, right? Because for you guys that are fairly new to the game or do not know, or even to the parriers, this is probably one of the easiest weapons to parry, right? And spamming the R1 button is one of... Okay, so he's hitting me with the Hornet Ring, with a great sword in the Undead Berg. Whatever. Back to what I was saying. And actually, that disgusted me so much that I just kind of lost track. But it is what it is. It kind of comes with the Dark Souls PvP territory. But anyway. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about parrying. As most of you guys know, spamming the R1 with the Black Knight Greataxe is one of the worst things that you can do when you're wielding this weapon. Alright, so one tactic that you'll see me do is, even though I will swing a lot, it will not be the consecutive swings, kind of like this action. you know, where you just kind of go left, right, or you just go R1, R1, R1. No, because you're asking for a parry. Now, this is not to say that I won't get parried any other times, because I definitely will. Okay, excuse that noise. I don't know if you guys heard that over the mic, but it's a beautiful winter morning, right? So I decided to come out on the porch, sit on the front table, and get some fresh air while I do this commentary. So if you guys hear kind of like cars or birds chirping, I mean, my apologies, but I just wanted to get a little share of nature this morning. Alright, so back on the subject. Alright, so if you guys will notice, now, I don't know if this spirit of vengeance saw that I was fighting somebody, or he's just standing in the middle of the arena. I guess he finally got it and he's back off in the corner. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you can do with this. One thing that I've done, whenever I see a guy with his shield on his back, I might spam the R1 against those guys. Right? Because obviously if you have a shield on your back, you cannot parry. Or if I'm faced against a guy with a great shield, that's another one of those instances where I might spam the R1. Now, why would I spam the R1 in both instances? Well, as I stated in the first instance, I can't get parried. I mean, the guy, I think he's so high speed, you know, that he's got his shield on his back. In the second instance, I will spam the R1. That instance being somebody holding a great shield, is because my intent is to drain all the stamina. Alright, because the Black Knight Greataxe is a very powerful strength weapon, and it has good potential to drain stamina very quickly. Right. So if you guys notice, I'm incorporating these kicks, and you guys will see that a lot because I know that a lot of guys are going to try to parry. So you will see me throw out a lot of kicks, especially when I, well, hold on a second. That guy need to tighten up his muffler. Okay, so anyway, especially when I see someone kind of running straight at me. Right, because when you see someone running straight at you, one of two things are being attempted. One, a lock BS, which people complain about, but they're very easy to identify. And since they're easy to identify, they should be easy to counter. Or two, these guys who are trying to hit you with the blind parry. Right, so anytime you see someone just kind of running straight at you, shield down, sword down, it's usually one of those two things that they're attempting. Right, and in most cases of the first instance, the guy probably has a hornet ring. Right, and he's really trying to just end the fight. What is this guy doing? Well, he's not doing anything anymore. Alright. So, in the instance that we see someone attempting a lock BS, right, our strategy is to try to kick them. Right, either kick them or swing into their attempt. Right, because with regard to this weapon, it has a pretty decent reach. And you can actually stop the lock BS with this weapon as long as you are kind of swinging kind of ahead of the time that they're running to you, right? Because if you wait until the last second, they'll probably BS you already, and we don't want that in the brigade, right? So what we'll try to do is either kick them or swing when, I don't know, they're slightly too far. So by the time that they run, you know, by the time that they're almost at the lock BS position, we will connect. All right. So we're doing pretty good. This guy is holding a dagger. So I'm going to assume he will attempt a lock BS. Alright, so let's kind of see how we're going to handle this. Now see, this is the kind of crap that I don't like. Stop trying to take my kills, dude. I guess he thought he was doing me a favor. But it is what it is. I mean, he's a Dark Wraith. I mean, I'm not expecting that guy to be, polite or have what they call PvP courtesy. No, he's a Dark Wraith. I don't expect him to do anything, right? Now, if this was some of that jolly cooperation, I would expect manners or, courtesies or something like that. But this guy's a Dark Wraith. Why would I ever expect a Dark Wraith or a Grave Lord servant to play by any rules? I never do. Right? As a matter of fact, there's no expectations with any of those two types of covenant holders. Alright, so he's trying to refresh his vitality. So since he wants to bend the rules, I'll do the same thing. Okay, dude. Come on, come on. So, I know some of you guys are familiar with my last video in which I was talking about the pyromancer. Right, and you may think it to yourself, hey dude, you said you're going to do a lot of pyromancy videos. Well, I did, dude. And I still am. But, since I've received so many communications talking about, that I never switch up the variety. As I said in the beginning of the video, I just figured I'd switch it up for one time, right? So this will be probably about 60 minutes, somewhere between 50 and 60 minutes of Black Knight Greataxe action. And if you guys notice, you haven't seen any backstab fishing. Alright, so for some of you guys who complain that people with the Black Knight Greataxe tend to be backstab fishers, you will notice, I mean, how many times have you seen me hit the backstab? Right, and we're nearly at the 12-minute mark. Now, if you notice, these guys will be trying to hit me with the parry. Some successful, some unsuccessful. You will also notice that to the extent that these guys attempt to parry too much, usually I hit them with the counter parry technique, which is once I notice that they're going to try to parry, I'll swing once, circle them, and hit them with the backstab. All right, that's one of the two best methods, in my personal opinion, to counter a parrier. The first being a kick. Now, if you are fighting some of the same guys all the time, these tactics might not work, right? Case in point, I fight Short Dude 123 pretty often. And because I fight him pretty often, he pretty much knows that I'm going to kick. He knows that. So one thing that I have noticed in my more recent fights with him, he'll not only will he, withstand the kick, but he'll go ahead and parry a second time, which he didn't used to do, right? But because I fight him a lot, he's kind of familiar with my attack styles when I'm faced against him, right? So some of these methods might not work when you're fighting against the same people all the time. May it be some of the streamers, may it be some of the fight clubs that you guys may frequent on a regular basis. But if you guys are, fighting the same guys all the time, you might want to switch up your play styles, right? But with regard to this situation, this situation being random PvP, right? Because, this was, one night that I said, let me kind of do something different. And I just sat there and camped with the Black Knight Greataxe for probably about 3 hours. I really caught a lot of guys off guard, right? Now, I got parried, and it was actually pretty funny, because I'm thinking to myself, like, holy crap, I really cannot believe the amount of wins that I'm getting with this Black Knight Greataxe, right? Because I really expected to get parried a lot more times. But this kind of verifies what I was saying about fighting the same guys all the time. you will notice that they are probably your worst enemies, the guys that you play all the time. Now, this is not to say that there are no good players when you're doing random PvP or random invasions. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the more you play someone, the more you should get familiar with their play styles, both offensive and defensive. Now, of course, there are some exceptions to the rule. And I'll give one example of an exception. If you guys are on, Twitch TV, maybe on the weekends, I kind of watch on the weekends. That's usually the only time that I'm watching. But on the weekends, or, if you guys are familiar with Pep, he's one example. Now, in the fight clubs on the weekends, it's usually the same group of guys, right? Shout out to all the Twitch TV streamers on the weekends and viewers. Shout out to you guys, Machine X, Godly. There's a whole bunch of them. I can't think off the top of my head. I know D Invader, he's one. There's some guys from Europe, from the UK that's on there. Shout out to all you guys. There's a guy who's usually on those streams, Pet Peruvian, right? Now, what I just said about fighting the same guy all the time, now there's some exceptions to the rule, and he would be one. Because in many cases, that guy will breeze like through 20 people straight, right? Sometimes more. That's kind of like a conservative estimate. And usually it's the same people that he'll fight every weekend, right? And this is just the times that I'm watching. I don't know, they may have fight clubs during the week, but I do know that he is definitely an exception to the rule. No matter how many times you fight that guy, right? Though he will lose, 90% of the time that guy wins, right? So I don't even participate in those. Right? But in most cases, when you fight the same persons all the time, usually you guys kind of get used to each other's play styles. Right? Okay, so this guy hit me with like 2 roll BS's, and I won't fault him, because maybe that's the only opening that he sees. I don't know. But one thing that I will say, okay, I don't know if you guys heard that car, but excuse me if you did. One thing that I will say is that sometimes I get to the Berg, and like within like 30 minutes, I'll just go somewhere else, right? Because in a lot of instances, this is what you'll see. A whole bunch of roll BSers. I mean, it's kind of like that's all they do. And actually, I'm surprised I didn't get roll BS'd more than what I did. Alright, shout out to Ricky the Hippo. He's another one of the viewers of the streamers and participators of the fight clubs. Alright, so shout out to him. Alright. Go ahead and tighten him up. And I get a nice punishment for hitting that R2 attack. That is very slow. Right, and not only is it slow in the engagement, but it has a very slow recovery time. Right, now, one thing I do know about Ricky, he's probably going to try to parry me, so I kind of have to be careful. And I have to judge when I'm going to exercise my swing, because I know if he gets too close, he'll probably parry me. So I kind of need to swing at the end of the hilt. Right, as I see them coming, I kind of need to estimate the distance, right? Because if they're too close, they're going to hit me with the parry. But if they're not close enough, they will receive damage. And this is what we want. Okay, we're fighting a noob. Now, why do I say that? Well, at first sight, either one of two things. Either he's using that ring or sorcery. I don't even know if it's a sorcery. I think it's hush or something like that. That makes your footsteps quiet, right? And if that is what he's using, I'm calling him a noob because anyone would know if you're an invader, your footsteps are quiet anyway. Right? The only time you can be heard as an invader is if, you're like breaking phases or breaking over tables, or if you're swinging and hitting walls. Other than that, your footsteps are quiet anyway. Okay. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting seeing that. But it is what it is, right? We're all noobs. Who cares? Okay, so you want to hit me with a sorcery. So that kind of stuff gets on my nerves. Now the guy is running, right? And because I won't chase him, I kind of go back to the fighting arena. And as he see me running, he want to kind of hit me with a slick, soul spear when my back is turned. That kind of crap gets on my nerves. But it is what it is. As we said before, there's no expectations. Not only with Dark Souls PvP, but especially with Dark Wraiths. Right? Unlike some people, I don't believe in PvP courtesy. Right? Well, actually, let me take that back, because I have my own set of courtesies. I don't have this belief that everyone else is courteous. I'll put it that way. Right? Because people play by their own rules. And that's how I should expect people to play. So though it may get on my nerves that he just kind of hit me with that sorcery when my back was turned, yeah, it does, but why should I have any expectations? This is PvP, right? Some people are desperate to win. Other people just find enjoyment in playing their role as a Dark Wraith, right? Which, in my personal opinion, is to be the biggest a-hole as you can, right? This is not cooperation. You're trying to end my life. Right. So do I get disgusted with the hornet ring? Sure I do. Do I get disgusted, especially when they're attached with, when they're paired with a Murakumo or something like that? Of course I do. But it comes with the territory. So it is what it is. And actually, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because when I first started with the PvP, I used to wear hornet rings all the time. Right, especially with my great swords. But I kind of went through a process to where, the more I played, especially with some of these one-on-one situations, because, honestly, I used to do just tons of invasions, and I still do tons of invasions, but I also find myself in a lot of 1v1 situations. I just got to the point to where I said, you know what, hornet rings are very much unnecessary when you're in, these 1v1 situations, especially in places like the Burn. Right now, invasions, although, I don't wear a hornet ring in invasions, I don't really care. Right? Because the job of the invader is to, get rid of you, not have fun. You want to have fun, that's what the fight clubs are for. Right, and if you guys want to have fun, I would suggest you just go ahead and support the streams, right? Twitch TV. Just put in Dark Souls in the search browser, and in most cases you will find someone doing a fight club. Alright, so let's try to summon good old Neurotoxin. See what he's got to bring to the table. Summoning failed. So that must mean I have somebody else trying to invade. Oh, okay. So we got a different person who was summoned. Alright, so let's see what this guy's got. He's got a Black Knight Greataxe like me. And he's hitting me with the full giants. Okay. So I'd like to see this guy retreat. See, this crap gets on my nerves. Why did he do that? Okay, whatever. He's a Dark Wraith. It is what it is. But I don't like him. Alright, so let's just go ahead and tighten him up. Man, it feels good out here. Alright, he won't be causing anyone else mischief. Humanity acquired. Alright, let's let's see what Lord Shadow has to bring to the table. Now, one thing that I realized during this PvP session, my intent was to use all the Black Knight weapons. Right? And one thing that I noticed, that Black Knight Greatsword absolutely sucks. Okay, I should have saw that coming, right? Because as we discussed before, he was coming straight at me, right? But this guy's trying to go toe-to-toe with a Black Knight Greataxe. Is this guy serious? Alright, takes my blade, Chief. That's what he gets for trying to hit me with the Hornet. And it looks like we're going to have him for round 2. And actually, I'm going to expect him to do the same thing. Come in straight for the... And he did, right when I'm hitting the grass, Hornet ring. And he's desperate. He's got to be desperate. Because if you notice, he's trying to hurry up and hack and slash right after he hit me with the Hornet. I see that as a move of desperation. Right, but I also have desperation moves there, Chief. Yeah. Black Wolf Love. Interesting name. Alright, back to what I was talking about, the Black Knight weapons. That Black Knight Greatsword absolutely sucks. You guys are going to notice in part 2 when I'm using it, that spinning R1 attack only did like 400 damage, which is especially weak, considering the fact that I have 40 strength. And this is a 120 build. Now, I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe the stats are 50 vitality, 54 endurance, 40 strength, and 18 dexterity. Alright, so with 40 strength, I mean, I don't know, that Black Knight Greatsword was just pitiful. And actually, the Bastard Sword, the Claymore, and the Man-Serpent Greatswords are all perfect alternatives to that weapon. Okay, nice BS. Alright, so we're at the last fight of part 1. And if you guys notice, we started off at 30 humanity, right, and we're now at 51. Right, so that's a lot of humanity we collected with the Black Knight Greataxe. And actually, I hesitated because after I saw his guard up with that first wing, I assumed he would try to parry with the second. Right, and I anticipate that because this is a very easy weapon to parry. But he's not doing it. So I don't know if he's trying to time himself for a backstab. I don't know. Okay, so he's trying to hit me with a blind parry. Okay, but if you guys notice, after I noticed it, I just went around him and hit him with a backstab. Well, you guys can go ahead and check out the rest of the match and stand by for part 2. Martyrs Brigade